The Audi RS Q8 costs £110,000 base brand new, and I thought there were a bunch of supercars you could buy for under that kind of money which aren't SUVs. Now I know they serve different purposes, but I wanted to see what you can get as a supercar instead of an SUV for the same kind of money. Remember to hit like if you like this kind of video and subscribe as well if you're new. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's kick off with the lovely facelifted Lamborghini Gallardo LP560-4, the stunning predecessor to the Huracan which we see out on the roads today, and a car that many YouTubers end up getting as their first supercars given the insane value for money it provides. It has over the years often been referred to as a car that you can own for free, as barring anything going wrong mechanically, prices have been slowly rising, meaning many owners have gotten in and out of them without losing any cash. Today these start at around the £76,000 mark, and you'll find the best example sitting at around the £100,000 mark, still 10k less than the SUV. For that money you're getting a 5.2 litre V10 engine that produces 552 brake horsepower, taking the car from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, pretty good for a car that is now well over 10 years old. I mentioned it was facelifted, and you can definitely see the difference between the older cars and the newer ones, as the newer ones take more inspiration from the hallowed Murcielago, most notably around the front bumper. The benefit of going for one of these faces is that they are known to be much more reliable than the first set, which had problems with clutches, particularly on the E-Gear Auto models, sticking throttle bodies and oil pump failures. But given by the time the LP560-4 came out, Audi were well into problem solving, they're genuinely not known to be unreliable, so the repairs are still very expensive if something does go wrong. The Ferrari 599 is an absolutely beautiful car, genuinely one of my favourite looking Ferraris of its era, helped of course by the fact that it's a Pininfarina design, though of course I appreciate not everyone wants a front mid-engined Ferrari. I would absolutely have one of these though, with its 6 litre V12 engine that makes 612 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. Unreal performance out of what is actually a Grand Tourer, which basically means it will do bits out on a driving trip around Europe. That engine is very closely related to that you'll find in my personal favourite car of all time so far, the Enzo, as the Enzo's engine code is F140B, the 599's is F140C. Apologies, that's a bit too nerdy, I just wanted to get a clip of me and an Enzo into the video. It comes with both a manual and automated F1 manual, basically flappy paddles, but more interestingly has some incredible aerodynamics factored into the design, like the Venturi tunnels under the car and the flying buttress style rear, both of which bring massive downforce to keep the car handling beautifully, matched with cooling ducts to keep the brakes from overheating while driving fast. Add on the super luxurious leather interior on these, and honestly very good reliability, and from this video this is probably the car that I would have, and I say probably because I've got some more beauts coming. All that starts at £80,000, which I think is pretty mental, and for the price of an SUV you're getting a 2008 model with under 20,000 miles on the clock. We're on to another Grand Tourer now, the Aston Martin DB11 AMR, which is one of Aston's modern day masterpieces. Whether you go for one in coupe or convertible spec, it's honestly a stunning car, and in AMR spec it's more focused on performance than just eating up the miles out on a road trip. The AMR replaced the standard DB11 V12 in 2018, which it was speculated wasn't performing as well in sales as the V8. That increased performance focus meant you got more out of that 5.2 litre twin turbocharged V12, 630 brake horsepower total to be exact, than most of any car on this list, which would get you to 60 in 3.6 seconds. Not only that, you also get firmer suspension, new shifting programming for quicker gear changes, and a more angry exhaust note. Aesthetically you can spot the black roof and forged alloy wheels. It really is a proper piece of kit, and was again discontinued in 2011, so they were only around for a few years. I've never been a huge fan of Aston Martin interiors, but the AMR does do a good job of combining luxury and sportiness, particularly with that telltale Aston Martin racing green stripe through the middle. £98,000 the minimum that you'll find these listed for, and at £110,000 you'll be looking at a 2020 model with around 16,000 miles on the clock. Reliability on these has so far been positive, though some owners have had issues with the electrics, mostly in relation to the sat-nav and aircon. I hope you enjoyed this video. A quick question to you guys, in the comments down below let me know, would you prefer to have a brand new Audi SUV or one of these supercars? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I know what I would pick. And if you're new here, I make 2 videos every week, so do hit subscribe. We're on to another Grand Tourer now, though not as we know it. It's the Mercedes AMG GT R, which is the track-focused sibling to all the other AMG GT products and really not built for Grand Touring. That's in part thanks to that 4 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine which makes 576 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Pretty punchy, but mostly thanks to literally everything else on this car. From the outside you can already see the aggressive lines, the massive adjustable rear wing, and the massive brakes for use on track. When you look inside you see the bucket seats and minimalist cockpit. All in, this car looks more like a Mercedes GT3 race car that's been made road legal. And that is partly because Mercedes did literally have an AMG GT3 car which looked very similar, and an even more similar GT4 version which was entirely based on the road-going GTR, so genuinely this is a race car for the roads. It isn't the absolute top spec given there are both GTR Pro and Black editions to contend with, but I think value for money wise this is probably the one to go for, unless like me you also love the GTC, but that's a totally different story. These start at around £98,000 with £110,000 getting you a 2018 model with around 13k on the clock. And for that money, reliability is pretty good with a few recalls around electrics but nothing major. Next up we have the only car that I think contends with the Ferrari in terms of how much I want it out of all the cars on this list, the Porsche 911 991 GT3, which always surprised me with the fact that it starts at around the £93,000 mark with £110,000 getting you a 2013 model with around 16k on the clock. Not bad for what is an unreal package. Owning a Porsche GT product is a dream in and of itself, and being able to get a modern one for under £100,000 is even more insane given the ridiculous prices of the 991 GT3 RS and the 991 GT2 RS. It's worth mentioning that I'm talking about the 991.1 GT3 with the smaller 3.8 litre flat 6 engine that makes 468 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in just 3.4 seconds. Buying one will get you a completely track focused car, telltale signs including that roll cage in the rear with harness seat belts, the rear wing, the generally stripped out interior, the centre locking motorsport wheels, and the large brakes and intakes. All in, the car looks like a 911 Cup car, similar to the AMG GT R in that sense. This is all backed up by the GT3's insane Nürburgring time of 7 minutes 25 seconds, which is genuinely sublime. However, there was a major known problem with them, which led to a widespread recall. This is good now though, given that if you get one from after 2013, it should still have the transferable warranty that covers the entire engine. We're finishing off with a bang, and arguably the most supercar-like supercar on the list, the Audi R8 V10 Plus from the second generation Audi R8. It comes with a massive 5.2 litre V10 engine which produces 601 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, helped along by the fact that it's all-wheel drive. You can tell a Plus from a non-Plus by one main thing, the rear wing, so if you're ever confused, that's what you should look out for. This car is highly related to the Lamborghini Huracan, which it shares much of its platform, parts and engine with, just with a more Audi-esque interior, not dissimilar in fact that you'll find in the RS Q8 SUV, just more built around being a supercar rather than a luxury SUV. And yet considering all of this, the R8 starts at more than £30,000 less than an RS Q8 at £78,000, with the RS Q8 money getting you basically as good an R8 as you can possibly get. The Plus is also incredibly lightweight thanks to its usage of carbon fibre where you might expect aluminium to be, and comes with a stiffer overall chassis to improve handling over the first generation. I think where people used to argue over whether the first gen R8 was or wasn't a supercar, it's easy to call the Mark II V8 Plus one, considering it ticks basically every exotic box imaginable, maybe with the exception of the badge and a solid reliability record. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new, and obviously let me know in the comments if you prefer one of these supercars or an SUV. And if you want to watch another video on some cheap supercars, then do click up here and subscribe down here.